Now that all the basic black and white values have been applied to the different parts of our lamp, it's time to start adding color, texture, and details. Let's start with the body of our lamp by selecting its layer. Then go to the Image menu, down to Adjustments, and highlight Hue and Saturation. When the dialog box appears, go down and check Colorize, making sure Preview is also checked. At this point, you may want to experiment with all the different sliders just to see all the color possibilities. However, when you're done, in order to stay consistent with this lesson, your final setting should be Hue 0, Saturation 65, and Lightness 0. This will change the body of our lamp to a nice bright red. Now, go to the Layer Options and duplicate the body layer, naming it Body Chrome. Then, go to the Filters menu, down to Sketch, and highlight the Chrome filter. When the dialog box appears, you'll want to experiment with the detail and smoothness sliders. I'm going to set mine at 7 for detail and 10 for smoothness. However, because your artwork may vary from mine, your settings might end up being different. But that's okay. No piece of artwork will ever be exactly the same. Once the filter's been applied, the lamp body on this layer should look a little like liquid metal with all the color removed. What we need to do now is get this black and white chrome layer to interact with the color layer below. We can do that by changing the layer mode. As you can see, there are a lot of modes to choose from, and depending on your choice, the results can be dramatically different. At this point, it would be a good idea to experiment just to see what happens and to familiarize yourself with the modes. In this particular case, I'm going to end up using Soft Light and reducing the layer opacity down to 60%. This should start to make the body of our lamp look shiny, but there's still more work to do before we can achieve the final results. However, before we do, I first want to work on the other parts of the lamp so I can better visualize the overall illustration. To begin, select the shade layer and, like before, bring up the Hue and Saturation dialog box. Command U on the Mac, Control U for the PC. Check Colorize and set the sliders to Hue 47, Saturation 38, and Lightness at a plus 65. This should give our shade a nice warm canvas color. Then, to make it look a little more like fabric and less like plastic, I need to give it a slight texture. Photoshop gives us a lot of choices here, but in this case, I think just a little noise will work fine. So going up to the Filters menu, down to Noise, select Add Noise. In the dialog box, set the amount to 4 and click Uniform. This should add some stippling and diffuse the gradation slightly. To complete the lampshade, the last thing I need to do is create the illusion of a rolled fabric edge. I can do that with my Dodge and Burn tools. I'll start with the Burn tool using the 10 pixel soft brush. Set the range to midtones and the exposure at 50%. Then, similar to what I did for the top edge of our lamp base, start outside the shape just a little down from the top. I'll click with the mouse, hold down the Shift key, and drag across my shape. Repeating the same thing at the very bottom edge of the shade. This creates the shadowed edge of our rolled fabric. For the highlight edge, I'll get my Dodge tool with the same brush, range on highlights, and the exposure at 10%. At the very top of the shade, using the same technique, click and drag with the Shift key. Then, do the same thing just slightly above the bottom of the shade. When you're done, it should look as though the shade has rolled edges top and bottom.